My cat's very needy sometimes. Just needs to be pet right now. Sure, like 10 minutes from now, she'll walk away and be like, now it's time to sleep. All right. Trying a slightly different setup here and talk about The Hand of God, which is up for Best Foreign Film in the Oscars this year. Well, The Hand of God is a movie about God and his hand. No, it's not. It's about a kid. Yep. It's about like a 14-year-old kid, and I guess it's supposed to be like a coming-of-age story and stuff, except in order to be a coming-of-age story, you have to have a story. It's an Italian film, and so maybe there was something kind of lost in translation for me. I don't know. But it was a story where I kept, because like, in 3-act structure, like the first act ends and that gives way to the second act, which usually has more stuff happening and stuff. But like it was like an entire movie where I was just waiting for the first act to end for the whole movie. And so it was just really boring for the most part, actually. Which is really boring. I feel that, like, when people make biographies, even autobiography movies like this, or biopics, or whatever you want to call them, there's ones that are made well, and then there's these ones where they try to fit, like, too much story into a movie, And because of that, it jumps around, like, too quickly or too often, or sometimes when it slows down, then suddenly it gets really fast in the next scene, and, like, the pacing is all wrong. Because of that. Because they're just trying to fit like too much into an entire movie. If you want to know how to make a good biopic, watch Citizen Kane. Or an autobiographical pick, watch Minari from last year. Both of those are like very good at showcasing a person's life. Minari does it by it just takes place over one summer, I think. Maybe a little more than that, but like it's just like a short part of one person's life, showing you just like how they lived in that specific time. And Citizen Kane's goes through the whole man's life. It's based on a real person. I think it was I don't remember who it was, but it was made fictitious and just kind of went through it like that, like a fictitious retelling of somebody's life. And like, but they did that by kind of showing just brief instances of each part of his life, but each part still had the same consistent theme. It didn't just jump around randomly without any plotting or planning or pacing, like this movie did. Because this is the other biopic, I think, or autobiopic, as the case might be. They don't know how to focus on just one aspect of that person's life or one or two things, well, really just one thing, because that's the plot. Anything else is a side plot. And instead, this is just like multiple side plots that don't go anywhere. And that's the whole movie. The whole movie doesn't go anywhere. It just meanders on nothing for a very long amount of time. For the entire movie. So it's 2 hours of nothing. Nothing happens for an entire movie. Is how it feels, I mean, like, stuff happens, but none of it's consistent. None of it flows together like a movie should. It feels more like I'm watching, like, the shorts. Like a bunch of short films in a row that just pretend to have the same people in it. Really, if you had broken it up enough and told me it was just different shorts, I probably wouldn't have noticed it was the same actors or anything. Because it just felt like just a clusterfuck of nothing. And I feel like there's always movies like this, exactly like this movie, that like is trying to show you like character elements or something, or like trying to showcase a character or something, or be a character study. That's the term. It doesn't actually do anything, because it's like, because it's all about the character, we don't actually need a plot. It's just about what the character and what that character does. And everything else, and nothing else matters. Just throw it away. Fuck it. And that's what this movie is. And it's one of those movies, and I really hope there aren't a whole bunch this Oscar season, but there probably will be. I have no hope anymore. This is the first movie I've watched since the Oscar nominees came out. Suicide Squad wasn't even nominated for anything, so what the fuck do I care? Anyway, is there anything I liked about this movie? I guess the acting was okay. And again, maybe there's something I'm losing in that's being lost in translation. Like, you can't have an Italian movie that has a plot in it or something. Italian people don't do that. I really like the cinematography, actually. That stood out as being really well done and doing things differently or than you might expect in a biopic. The camera moves around a lot more than they usually think they need to in movies like these, where everything is usually very static. It's all like, look, it's a period piece. Look at all the scenery. And watch our actors chew the scenery. Just trying to think of what did I like? What did I like? Cinematography, I mentioned that. I kind of like the setting, just because it was filmed in Italy, and just seeing Italy is kind of interesting, but, I mean, I don't know if that should count as a plus, really. Yeah, I would probably just say I like the cinematography. I mean, the music was alright, but it's like, the music doesn't stand out, and it doesn't carry the movie, unless it's a musical. It's one of those things, too, that I can't really, fault the entire film just because it has bad script. I mean, I can. And say, the story sucked, negative 10,000 points. But I'm not going to do that because that doesn't seem fair for the most part. I mean, it seems like the people who made this movie were fairly competent at making films. The acting was pretty good. Some of it stood out a bit more than others. It actually had some pretty good humor, especially within the first 15 minutes. At a point, I thought it was a comedy at first because they actually had some pretty good jokes. But then the jokes stopped almost completely, pretty much, and it just became kind of this coming of age story that didn't really feel like a story at all because it was just random scenes of this one person as they grew up and stuff, and not really even grew up because I don't think they learned anything. That's how I felt by the end of the movie too. This frustratingly childish kid doesn't actually grow in this coming of age story. Is how I felt anyway. Maybe you could watch it and be like, yeah, see this the blah blah blah, but it's you're wrong. No, he didn't learn anything. He didn't learn a damn thing. I know I'm getting so upset about this movie, but it pisses me off when people do this shit because it happens every Oscar. Because it's not a movie, you don't make a movie. You're just oh, look, characters are on screen, and sometimes things happen that might make you feel emotions. So because the story sucks, takes me out of the movie. All my involvement is gone. I don't care what happens to these characters anymore. Everyone could die, and I don't care, because I'm not emotionally invested in these people anymore. And this happens every year that there's at least one, if not a dozen movies just like this. They're not really movies. They're fake movies because there's no plot. It doesn't even pretend to have a plot. It never latches on to anything except for this boy, I guess. But he doesn't latch on to anything, so therefore he's just falling through the air and latching on to whatever comes his way. I don't know. I'm bad with metaphors. I guess I'll give it a rating and forget about this movie, this highly forgettable movie. As soon as this video's over, it's just going to escape my mind and I'm never going to think about it again. And then this will probably be the thing that wins Best Foreign Film because that's usually how the Oscars work, in my opinion. I hated this movie. I hated it. Best Foreign Film. God damn it. Happens a lot more than I would think. Last year, I was I was pretty impressed for the movies last year, and then everything for Best Picture. I was well, as long as this one movie doesn't win, and that was the movie that won. Everything else I was I'm pretty impressed with everything else here. If any of those movies win, I'd be pretty happy. As long as this one movie doesn't win. I forget what it was called, the hippies howling at the moon movie. It was just bad. In my opinion. And I'll probably re-review it. I was thinking about reviewing every Oscar movie eventually, slowly over time, just because I can. Any movie nominated for an Oscar, I mean, since 1929 or 28, one of those. What was I on? Oh yeah, The Hand of God. My rating is thumbs down. I guess I should give it a number. Well, if it wasn't for the cinematography, I'd probably just give it a 1 or 2, truthfully. That's how much enjoyment I got out of it. But the cinematography, I think, raises it maybe a number or 2. I guess the acting wasn't terrible. I'll give it a 4 out of 10. Just below mediocre. That seems fair. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe.